Welcome to my channel. I'm Carissa, and today I'll be sharing more with you guys on part 2 of my self-sabotage series. And I'd like to sincerely apologize for my video last week. I noticed there were some video and audio hiccups. So today I'll be recapping with you on what I shared last week, as well as what I'm about to share with you for this week's part 2 of my self-sabotage series. So last week I talked to you guys about what self-sabotaging is all about and certain examples, and basically it means that we are constrained or restricted by patterns of our lives that we do still continue carrying out on a daily basis or during certain occasions, and we may or may not be aware of such patterns. So it also happens when, for example, you sabotage yourself in not succeeding, or sabotaging yourself in relationships, or even it could be sabotaging yourself at work. So there are various causes for how self-sabotaging might appear in your own life. So I'll be sharing with you some telltale signs that could appear in your own life or in other people's lives that you might be more aware than they themselves. Firstly is that a telltale sign that you can tell if you are having self-sabotaging behavior or pattern is procrastination. So basically, if you procrastinate doing something that you yourself know is beneficial for your own growth, for your success, however you choose to be distracted and not focus on what you have to do, knowing that it will benefit you. For example, if you are a student and you know that this 1 hour is set aside for your studying time, however you're distracted by your handphone games or YouTube videos, then you are procrastinating studying, and this will not be helpful to you in the long term. This also means that you are sabotaging your own results, which brings me to my next point on relationships. So how do you sabotage yourself is, for example, firstly, you choose a relationship that is not beneficial to you. So perhaps you are comfortable or used to certain types of relationships that you are familiar to from young. For example, relationships where you cause the other party to be angry most of the time just because you want attention, and you are familiar that making someone angry will make that person give you attention. However, you also know logically that that is not really a healthy way to gain attention from the other party. So you might want to look at how your relationships play out for you. And another way to self-sabotage yourself, be it in relationships or in your careers, could be that you fear success. So one way to look at it is that you might be fearful of what is or what might happen after being successful. So what happens in relationships and even in career could be that you sabotage your own success because you have a fear of success. Now, it's not to say that you don't enjoy the benefits from being successful, but what other consequences might happen if you really become successful is the question to ask yourself. For example, if when you were younger you experienced being mocked at or laughed at just because you got good grades, that could build up your fear that you were not even 100% conscious of because of your past experience when you were younger, that resulted you in being fearful of success when you are an adult. Perhaps even you might wonder how come certain outcomes that you desire isn't happening to you, even though you put in so much effort and time. So it could be easier to give yourself reasons for why you failed instead of really putting in your best effort and failing. I know that can be something that might be a little bit tough to absorb, but what I'm really trying to say here is that people in general find it easier to give excuses or reasons for why they do not succeed, rather than putting in all their efforts and putting in their best and still not succeeding. So before you even put in your best, whatever your definition is, you have already failed. Just because of what you tell yourself and just because of what you fear. Now my next point is on self-defeating thoughts and words that you tell yourself every time you experience, be it failure or something that does not occur the way you want. So it could be words such as, I knew this was going to happen, or I expected this, and I'm not good enough. So these certain words that you tell yourself are actually self-defeating words, and it is going to result in you believing those words that you tell yourself. So it could be a one-off, incident, because there are many other factors that affect your success. And yet you tell yourself that you are not good enough, which becomes the truth that you yourself believe in. And this truth that you believe in may become a pattern for subsequent experiences that you build for yourself in your own life. Next, I also like to talk about how some of us may expect people to change be it in romantic relationships or in work relationships or even in friendships. So you may expect someone else to change because of certain areas that you do not like. However, if the other party do not see it as an issue, then they may not change because they are unaware or they may not be able to see from your perspective. So if you secretly hope that something about them will change, then my personal advice to you would be either to communicate with them to reach a compromise, or perhaps do not let this aspect damage your own relationships with people around you, and in turn sabotaging close relationships that you may have because you are always waiting for someone else to change. You can change your own mindset, you can change your own perspective, because all these are you and not them. Likewise, you may not be able to change someone else's mindset and perspective. So one other way that people may sabotage their own relationships is that they are unable to communicate effectively in a way that the other party can hear them and understand from their perspective. And this could also happen because of a childhood experience. For example, when you are sharing with your parents about your day, about your school, about your friends, and they ask you to, keep quiet, then you may have told yourself from young that being quiet and not communicating how you really feel and think is the way to go, and is the way for you to survive relationships. And this also causes you to want to protect yourself from any pain or hurt that reminds you of your past experience that you might go through in your adulthood and in your current relationships with people around you. What I'm trying to say here is that are there other methods that you can try and you are comfortable and ready to try out for yourself in communicating your own needs and wants to people around you. Otherwise, you might feel suppressed and might not be able to express yourself in the way that you want to other people. So if you do not express yourself to other people, then they may not know how you think and feel about certain things. So for now, that's all from me, and I strongly encourage you to perhaps read up or journal down your own observations about yourself and your own life and certain patterns and habits that you carry out even in day-to-day interactions or special events, and you may realize for yourself some sabotaging habits and patterns that you do to yourself, be it subconsciously or you may be even half aware of them. Anyway, these are not just the only telltale signs that one might have in sabotaging themselves, and I strongly encourage you to also find them out for yourself, for your own benefit in your own life. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.